constant talk about some horrible event happening in our inauguration and our passing on of power in the United States.
Yeah, it's I saw all the stories that were going through alternative media, in fact, mainstream media about.
CNN was reporting on this, Wayne. They were like talking about what happens if there is some kind of an incident at the exchange of power, and then they talked about the one of the secretaries that the president chooses is on standby in case that happens in the succession planning, and it could be like the Secretary of Homeland Security, or it could be any number of different people, right?
Well, what amazes me, Steve, is that Americans, are so civic dumb. I mean, the Constitution stands as this: the sitting president in the succession of power due to whatever,
an election,
the vice president, if the vice president had an incident where he was no longer capable, it would go to the Speaker of the House.
Which would be Paul Ryan at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then from there is a succession order. So, what I find pitiful about this is that I find one group that are so desperately clinging on to the past who can't accept the future. And as a result of this, we create scenarios on the internet that says, well, I read a number of them, how Obama was going to cause an incident to happen that he would declare martial law. And again, these are people who obviously don't understand civics. They don't understand the Constitution. They don't understand how our government works. The great thing about the United States is that we are having a peaceful transition of power. And as they said, an experiment in democracy, we have been successful in doing this over 45 times, Steve. And I think that is a testimony to this great nation.
Well, it is, and this is what I'm disturbed with when they talk about fake media and the influence of media, is like when you have the mainstream media, just droning on and on about these horrible scenarios that could happen. It's disconcerting. Let's just put it that way. It makes me feel like the media's got an axe to grind, or that they're serious, that like they really seriously want to see people die and things like that to get their point of view across. I don't understand how the editors of mainstream media are allowing this garbage out there, Wayne.
Well, what they want to see is the failure of a man. But here's the problem with this, Steve. This is not about a man anymore. This is now about the fact that the transition, the people have spoken. No matter how you want to slice it and dice it, the people of the United States have spoken. That is history. It's never going to change. And now, to want harm or failure to come to an individual now says that they want harm and failure to come to America. And I don't understand that reasoning, because I'm an American, and you know what? Did I like Barack Obama? Hey, no. In ideologues, we were on two different universes, but he still held the office of the president. And for that, I would stand, I would salute, I would be courteous because of the position and of the office, not because of the man. And if we could come together, Steve, and begin to realize that if the Trump administration is to succeed, it means that we all succeed. And I don't know what's wrong.
And again, I can already hear the critics of that, Wayne, and I'm a very fair-minded person. I wanted to see Barack Obama succeed.
Sure, absolutely.
And a lot of people didn't want to see him succeed and did everything they could, to stop his activities and actions. And, I don't think being that polarized as a country is helpful, but to take it to this level of vitriol where you'll actually try to, imagine or visualize violence on Trump is to me is just, there's better things to report on. Let's just start there.
Yeah, it's childish, Steve. We've got other things to be much more concerned about, and I hope that we can heal from this. I hope, Steve, that you and I can be a part of that, and let people know that, hey, listen, I told you this yesterday on the phone when you and I were talking. If we could just get our heads right as a species and say, you know what, we're tired of this. We're tired of people ruling us. We're tired of the elites. We're tired of this system that always seems to get screwed up, right?
Right.
This is, to me, the nuclear clock counting down. I really do not know how we as a nation will ever be able to pay back $20 trillion.
Well, can I ask a question, Wayne? And maybe this will seem like a really simplistic question, okay? Who do we owe this money to?
Us. In essence, because, let's see, we authorized in 1912 to invent a private corporation that we were going to give them the right, by the way, the unauditable right to print our money and then charge us interest for printing our money. Yeah. Can I ask you a question back?
Sure.
What is that?
Well, again, this is kind of the thing that we think that this is all part of the story. This whole banking model where you have a private bank that prints money for the United States government, and then we pay them bonds in return. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, it's just...
And we're paying at interest. So, again, what we're looking at here is just the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of mankind.
Yeah, and you look down to those numbers down at the bottom, right? So we have these, what they call mandatory funded mandates. And that means there's no chopping at them. Those have to be funded. And then you've got the unfunded mandates. And then, of course, you have the whole issue in 2008 is to what happened to nearly $9 trillion. What most people forget to remember, Steve, was that when we had Rumsfeld at the Pentagon on September 10th, 2001, that he was having to explain where nearly $3.7 trillion they couldn't account for it. And he ended that. In fact, you can go and check the internet. You can see that news conference in which if 9/11 hadn't happened, that would have been the biggest story to have brought down an administration. It would have been bigger than Nixon and Watergate.
It was again, it was like the timing of all this stuff is just, it cannot be coincidental, right? And look at, again, I just wanted to point out, you guys, what Wayne was talking about is U.S. unfunded liabilities. This is the real ticking bomb, because this is $104 trillion.
How much?
$104 trillion.
So if you take, and this is why I don't understand why the country's so divided. I keep hearing these, and listen, let's be real clear, folks. Every U.S. senator is a millionaire. It's a millionaires club. And when I hear the hypocrisy of them saying about the Trump administration's cabinet that they're all millionaires, mostly, and many billionaires, well, duh. What do you want? Do you want someone who didn't know how to make a dime? These guys are successful. These women are very successful. And you just pointed out something. 100 and how much? 7 trillion?
$104 trillion.
Yeah, well, by the time we get finished with this show, it'll be up to 107. I mean, come on, folks. This is insane. And you want to tell that Steve and I are somehow on the fringe because we believe that there are planets out there in our solar system that may not be told to us, that they're potentially brown dwarfs, black stars? I mean, come on. I would much rather believe that because I look at this and this is already a train wreck. That's all I can say.
Well, I think that's a good place to bring our kind of news segment